Saludos and salutations, Broncos country, and welcome back into another exciting episode of Broncos Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a banger, Banger, for you guys today. Finally, after 2 weeks of having to come on the air and mope around, Libre and I finally have some good news for you guys. The Broncos are B-A-C-K. They're back, baby. We are back in the winning column. We have, excuse me, we have a tough game ahead of us coming up. But first, we're going to talk about that shellacking that the Broncos put on those freaking Bengals. And let me tell you guys, Bengals fans, in case you can't hear me, we've been where you've been, okay? I will say that we've walked that territory before. But hey, this is the NFL. There's no excuses to be made. Take your losses and your whoopings as they come. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure your food is warm, your beer is cold, and you're comfortable as hell, because you are not going to want to miss a single moment of today's show. We also have your favorite segment, Broncos Overtime, coming at the very 1 hour mark. But ladies and gentlemen, before we do or say anything else, there's only one thing to say. How about them Broncos?
Broncos talk, let's rock, feel the energy rise. From the microphone to the fans reaching the skies. Every episode a thrill, a surprise. For the love of the game, we harmonize.
And welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adan Diaz, and joining me to my left or right, depending on which direction you're watching, is the #1 rated Broncos fan, at least in my book, in the world, El Bronco Libre.
What's happening, Broncos country? Let's go.
Bronco Libre, you know, normally I get jealous when I see you at the game because I wish I was you, but I don't have money to fly out every single every single week to go watch the Broncos play like some other privileged and lucky Broncos fans. But let me just say, it is really awesome to see you out there and having a good time with the fans, the people that come up to you and take pictures, and, you know, getting to do what you do is really, really awesome. And I hope that the NFL sees it and that you get that visit, you know, for fan of the year, dude, because you really do deserve it.
I appreciate that a whole lot. And that's one of the things that I do love about, I'm very blessed right now to be able to, that I live here in the Mile High City and that I'm able to attend all the Bronco games itself. It's just so much fun just to be able to interact with all of the fans that come out, that like to come out and tailgate and do all that. But one of the things that I also love about this as well is the visiting teams fans as well. Like, I get to meet a lot of the other super fans that do travel. It's the same thing like when I travel to one game a year or whatnot. It's like the same thing there. It's like you're able to go out there and do that and have lots of fun and just interacting. And again, like I mentioned before, we're fan of fans, and that's the best part of this whole thing, is that we're here celebrating one common cause and love that we have, and that's football. But being able to go out there and just take pictures with everyone, having a good time, like that gets to my soul. That's right in my heart, man. And I love just that atmosphere itself. And, these people that, like, when you get in contact with all these people, I don't think of them as friends or anything. We call them families. So, you're talking about your fans, your family, and the camaraderie that we get is so awesome. And you feel that deep in your soul. And that's what I love about it the most.
And that's awesome. And I'm telling you, I got to experience a little bit of it when 2 weeks ago when I was hanging out with Johnny, and, the people that came up to him and, took pictures with him, they were all nice enough because they liked his decor and, obviously supporting the team and everything. But it's great. It really is. But ladies and gentlemen, before we continue with anything else, got to get a couple of things out of the way. If this is your first time here, welcome. If not, welcome back. First of all, Libre and I would like to ask you guys to please show your support for us here on the Orange and Blue Network. If you could subscribe, share, comment, and like on this and all the videos that we have here on the channel. If there's something you heard us say that you agree, don't agree with, have an opinion about, if you're not able to join us live, it's no problem. Leave a comment down on the YouTube video itself, and Libre and I will get back to you to answer your comment or question as quick as we can. Also, for our audio listeners, 5-star reviews are always well appreciated. If you'd like to screenshot it and send it to us at our socials, Libre and I will be more than happy to shout you guys out here live on the show. Our Twitter handles are right there at the bottom of the screen in case you guys can't see them. Mine is at a 6'10" Mexican. Bronco Libre is at Bronco Libre 5280. For any business inquiries, you can email at broncostalk2020@gmail.com. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to say thanks to the sponsor of today's show and all the shows here on the Orange and Blue Network, W. Basically, W is no sugar, no calories, no maltodextrin, no fillers, and no artificial colors. It's formulated with nothing but amino acids, B vitamins, and nootropics, including their patented neurofactor formula, which is basically the caffeine, which is derived directly from the coffee fruit. It's basically all the good stuff without all the bad, and it comes in a lot of delicious flavors. And to show you guys how awesome they are, if you use the code OBN10, you'll get 10% off your order at checkout. Again, that code is OBN10 to get your 10% off your order at checkout. Shout out to W and all the guys over at the Nothing Rhymes With podcast for hooking you, me, and Libre up with this amazing discount. And shout out to W for being a continued sponsor of this and all the shows here on the network. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to give you guys an update on the show schedule in case you guys do not know what we have to have in store. Keep in mind that all the times that I'm going to mention are in Mountain Time. The Orange and Blue Blitz comes to you live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 a.m. We have the Broncos Bros because, hey, do you even Bronco, bro? Every Monday at 7. We have the Nothing Rhymes With flagship show, which is every Tuesday at 6. We have the Mile High Symposium every Wednesday at 2:30. That goes on just before we do at 6 on the same day. And then we have Viva Los Broncos, the only Spanish-led podcast here on the network every Friday at 6. For any breaking news, I should say, is the Fresh Squeeze that comes to you live with any breaking news in Broncos country. And, of course, before every single game day, 1 hour before kickoff, we have the Get Bucked pregame show. And then right afterwards, we have the postgame Buck Your Feelings postgame show, which airs right after the game. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that if there are anything that goes down where we are unable to come out live and do our show, we will post it on our socials, and we do apologize for any cancellations. But unfortunately, things happen, stuff happens, life sometimes gets the better of us, but we promise that we will be back better than ever the following week. So please make sure you are subscribed to our socials on Facebook and Twitter so you get live notifications in case those cancellations go down.
So talking about cancellations, next week, Bronco Libre will be unable to attend due to previous commitments. But part of it is, this is a fun deal, though. I'm going to be working technically at the convention center, still here in downtown Denver, but I'm going to be working at the Great American Beer Fest. So I get all these wonderful beers that I help set it all up, do all that. And then I'm just managing during the festival itself. I'm the manager part of it. But the best part of being a manager of it, quality control. So I can taste all the products I want, making sure it's still good.
I will be taking applications for anybody that wants to fill in for Libre's spot on Wednesday. Just so you know, you have to wear a mask for the entire show.
Hey, it's only fitting, right?
Yeah, exactly. But you have some really big shoes to fill, whoever has that guest spot next week. So hopefully they do you proud. But yes, Libre will not be with us next week. Broncos Talk will be on the air, but Viva Los Broncos next week will not. We will have that Friday off, but it will be back next Friday. So we will have Viva Los Broncos this Friday. Next week, we will not film Viva Los Broncos, just Broncos Talk, and then we'll be back to our regular scheduled program the following week with our regular shows. So, Libre, with that being said, this Monday night game, a lot of people were looking outside of Broncos country. We're looking down on it just for the simple fact that the matchups were not favorable to most people. Cincinnati fans, even though their backs were against the wall, still came in talking a whole lot of smack. But hey, that's just what you do. But the shellacking that the Broncos put on the Bengals was incredible. Now, it was nothing from what they suffered the week before against Minnesota. But just because the Broncos did not match point for point, it did not deter away from the fact, Libre, that the Broncos are, the Broncos are back. So since you were at the game, could you tell us what you saw or what did you feel in terms of, seeing this Broncos offense starting to click exactly how we thought they were going to do since week one?
It doesn't matter what these haters think, guys, because the Broncos are still playing an NFL team. Those guys on the other side of the field are still getting paid as well. And you know what? They have two of the best wide receivers in the league at this moment with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And you know what the Broncos did to them? They put them in cell block D and locked them down. Like, that's the only thing I could say. They are still getting paid. Not our fault that Jake Browning doesn't know how to get them the ball properly or whatever. I had some people actually today at work who was telling me, man, I was afraid on that first drive that the way that they were moving it, and I told them that exact thing. I said, you know what? The Broncos figured it out. It was that first drive of the game. It's whatever. Nerves are coming out. And you know what? The Broncos on the defensive side put them in cell block D, and they locked that shit down. And they're like, you know what? You're right. They did. Because I said, they got 3 points that first drive. What else did they do for the rest of the game? Nothing. But just going on, talking about the environment, the atmosphere, the tailgate, I'm going to start off. The tailgate was fire. It was actually awesome. And then a thunderstorm comes in, starts pouring down on everyone and so forth. But you know what? That didn't stop us, our true diehards that were out there tailgating. This was about 2 hours before kickoff, too. So the lightning was like right there. Like there was one point where you saw the lightning, and within 2 seconds, that thunder hit hard. We're like, dang, that's like close. But you know what? That just electrified us. We brought the thunder. Then you know what? And that's what happened. It just started early there in the tailgate, and then we finished it off on the field on the Monday night.
Yeah, Robert Merrick jumping in, guys, and saying tailgates are always fire. No pun intended.
Hey, Rob, you already know, boy.
But to be honest with you, Libre, seeing it from my couch, or not my couch, from the chair. Actually, what I was trying to do is I was trying to do what a lot of people do is do live by commentary on TikTok, but I got flagged for it. I wasn't showing any part of the game or audio, so I don't know how the hell I got flagged for it. But it sucks because I really wanted to do something like that, call it play-by-play for those that aren't able to watch it. But I didn't want to get any more strikes because I don't want my account banned like the first one, so I had to log off. So I don't know how the hell there's people out there that were actually streaming the entire game in its entirety, and they had like thousands of people watching them. So I don't know. But anyways,
I know one thing that you can do is if you potentially because I know that the very first watch party that I was at, I was streaming for a minute and I didn't get any flags or anything like that. But you can always just do a reaction to where you're watching the game and just having the video on you and not actually having the game on there, and actually just do the commentary that way. But I know who you're talking about as well. His goes by the name of the armchair quarterback. He's the one that always does the streaming of the live games as well. And I don't know what type of setup. Like he has a nice setup where it's like on TikTok and it's streaming in a corner and all these different things. So he has a nice thing that he's going on. So unless he has some type of agreement or whatever to be able to do that, I just don't know that. But the thing is I think you could still just commentate it and just do that and maybe just have the sound in the background and not actually showing the game. maybe that's something going forward to see that if that work out. That's the one thing that I'm going to try doing as well this weekend, since the Broncos are in Philly, and I'm going to be going to a watch party, and then trying to do it that way. See if something can work out, something like that.
No, yeah. That's exactly what I was well, he's one of them. He's the main one. But there was another guy. I forgot what his name was,
Yeah.
but he was doing both. But anyway, Libre, what I saw from Bo Nix, I was really, really impressed. The only thing that really rubbed me the wrong way out of that whole game, and I don't know how you saw it from your perspective, but it was that interception. I played that like 100 times, and I saw that exact same player open. I think it was number 12. So I thought Bo Nix was just going to try to run in and dive for the touchdown, or I thought he was just going to throw it to number 12, who looked wide open. I don't exactly know who he was trying to throw it to, but the fact that he got picked in the end zone, that to me was backbreaking. And we got lucky that the Bengals are the Bengals and they were not a good team, because it's mistakes like those going forward that can really cost a team. But aside from that, he made up for it with that beautiful touchdown pass to Courtland Sutton, that beautiful run by Marvin Mims, and then that rushing touchdown he had earlier on. So he honestly made up for that. I do hope that his vision going forward gets better so mistakes like that don't happen, Libre. But I really, really liked what I saw out of Bo Nix in this game.
You know what? I did too. That's still only one play that you have to be concerned about, that he threw that pick itself. But again, look what he was able to do throughout this whole game. This year, the first game this year, over 300 yards passing, 2 passing touchdowns, that rushing touchdown that you just mentioned itself. But again, guess what? We now have a true run game. Like, that is the big key that really came out of this game. And if you look at it overall, you can now see that this run game did open a lot of those good passes that he had throughout the whole game itself. But talking about, like, where you're going off of what you're talking about, Bo Nix himself, about hopefully that he's getting better throughout each game. Just look at last year. Yes, we started off slow. We started off a little slow this year as well. But guess what? He continues to get better and better each week. And that's all that you can really ask for him. But he's already has that trend, if you look at it from last year, that he's only going to get better and better from each week in and each week out. And that's the best part that I love about Bo Nix and his play. Like, he's just getting that more confidence and so forth. And by the end of the year, he's going to be unstoppable. The teams are not going to know what to do with him, because now we have a run game. We have a passing game. That the play action is going to kill people this year, especially late into the season, especially for that push, for that playoffs, for the positioning in the playoffs. Are we going to get that number 1 spot? Are we going to get a wild card? But trust that these Broncos are going to be in a position that going to get them deep into the playoffs this year, and Bo will get us there with his play.
We have a comment here from D-Rock Libre saying, truthfully, I was disappointed with this game. Only 3 sacks and no turnovers. I can see why you would be disappointed in that, D-Rock. To me, like, I love seeing turnovers made by the Broncos, and I get it, but I wouldn't say I was disappointed. I would much rather them play like that than them give up big yards to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins like before in last year. So it wasn't the type of game where we were expecting types of games like that, but I would definitely not say disappointed. I think that the Broncos defense played exceptionally well. One correction I do want to make, because I kept getting corrected in on Twitter, was about Riley Moss. I may have jumped the gun a little bit when I said that he was starting to show signs of what it was last year, especially on that first pass by Browning. But Riley Moss locked down after that. Okay, so I want to say that hopefully he read my tweet and it inspired him, but I'm pretty sure that's not what happened. But it just started like that first drive. I'll be honest with you, Libre, I was nervous because the Browns, the Bengals marched down the field like it was almost nothing, and the defense just kept them to 3 points. And I was worried that that's how it was going to be like all game, and I was like, hey, the Broncos cannot let the defense just march down on them and settle for field goals, because that's what the Titans were doing 3 weeks ago. They were just marching down and they were settling for field goals. So that definitely didn't happen. Shout out to Riley Moss for, locking it down, doing what he was supposed to do, and keeping T. Higgins and PS2 with Jamar Chase. As long as PS2 is on the field, Jamar Chase will never have a great day against the Broncos. That is definitely a fact, Libre. And I think that Riley Moss more than made up for the way his coverage was last year against T. Higgins, and you can see it on the frustrations of on the Bengals wide receivers, that they were not having a great day. Now, maybe if Joe Burrow played in that game, their stats would have been a little bit better, but I still think that it would have been tougher. I don't think they would have seen the end zone even if Joe Burrow was playing out on that game, Libre.
We had this exact conversation with me, my buddy Jose, in the stands itself, and we say what a difference that the quarterback does really play. Like, you're missing one key player from this offense, and they couldn't do nothing, and that tells you how good Joe Burrow really is. I would say that this would have been a lot closer game if Burrow was playing, because he can actually get the ball to Chase. He can get it to Higgins. So, and that's the part of it as well. And I was talking, I was like, you know what? If something happens to Bo Nix, I'm actually not afraid of what could happen, because I feel that we have a great backup quarterback in Jarrett Stidham right now that can operate this offense. So, and we saw it during the preseason, because right away during preseason, people were already talking about it as well, saying, "Oh, he's doing so much better than Bo right now. Let's start Jarrett Stidham. Like, he needs to start the season, like, because of how good he played." But Browning, I don't know how long he's been on the team itself, or if it is his first year as being the backup or whatnot, but he's not good. Like I mentioned earlier, he has two of the best wide receivers out in the game, the two of the highest paid receivers in the game. And they didn't do nothing against the Broncos D. It could be that PS2 and Riley Moss just straight out just really did lock him down, because they did. And I feel like that's still a huge part that you never know. With Burrow in there, we could have been talking a whole different tune as well. That, they could have just dominated this whole time. But again, we play who's in front of us. That's nothing. We can't stop that. And that's a lot of the narrative that we do here, that we were just talking backstage, is that the Broncos are not getting their just due because they weren't playing against Burrow and there was Browning and whatnot, and they're not getting the credit they deserve. But you know what? It's not about that. They're still an NFL team that's still getting paid, and it's only one guy.
I will say, Libre, that I hope the other teams in the league take note, because that's exactly what you get when you ignore one of the most vital parts of your football team, which is your offensive line. And I'm not mad for Jamar Chase getting a bag, or T. Higgins, or Trey Hendrickson. They're all great players. But they themselves should know that if they're going in there to command a lot of money, you're robbing Paul to give to Peter in certain aspects. Mm-hmm. So if that offensive line would have gotten paid, maybe Joe Burrow would have actually played in this game. But the amount of hits that Burrow has taken that has landed him in these type of injury situations, it's a miracle if Jake Browning makes it to the end of the season, if he's still a quarterback by the end of the season, as healthy as possible. So when you ignore your offensive line and you don't upgrade it, and you expect your quarterback to go out there and play the way he play, it is not going to work out. It is going to be a bad day for everybody. And that offensive line is so bad that in one play, that probably like the most viral play that I've been seeing a lot the last 3 days, 3 offensive linemen, the center and the guards, all gang up on Zach Allen, and the tackles get beat at the point of attack by Jonathan Cooper and Benito, and they meet at the quarterback and they sack him. So it was like one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And it really makes me take it for granted, the offensive line that we have and how good they are. Now, I will say Wattenberg, I feel is still he needs work. He needs to get better, because there were a couple times where he struggled, and it was there were people already that were calling him to be benched in Broncos country. So he needs to shape up, because he needs to understand that these owners are not afraid to let anybody go. If especially Sean Payton, they're not messing around. So if you're not going to be an asset to this team, then you will be shown the door. So he definitely needs to shape up before the Broncos get wise and, decide to move on from him and find somebody better.
I agree. Especially he had that late penalty when we're out there. I'm like, how can you be offsides? But again, they always say that the center's never offsides, because if he doesn't move the ball or whatever, everyone else is offsides. I only heard that from my buddy Steve, because he was the center on my high school team. He goes, "I'm never offsides because I'm the one that control the ball." But it just baffles me. Like, a lot of centers do that for so much, because I think it even happened a couple of times over the weekend, because me and my son were watching the Red Zone channel, and I think it did happen like 1 or 2 other times throughout the on Sunday. I'm like, how is that even possible, man? It's like, come on. But this is also, like, we talked about Wattenberg before, and I think that he is truly the weak point of our offensive line itself. But again, he's doing a good quality job. I get that, but we definitely have to continue to look into possibly getting a replacement for him next year or whatnot. But unless he drastically improves throughout this season and throughout the offseason, that's the only way I see us keeping him. But I do feel like he is the weak link of our offensive line. And Wattenberg, do better, bro. Come on. Do you even Broncos, bro?
I still think they should have paid Cushenberry. I think this offense would be a whole lot better if Cushenberry would have just gotten a whole lot more money. But then again, that's almost everybody. I don't blame Lloyd for leaving, because I know we had our difficulties with Cushenberry when he first got to Denver.
Oh, yeah.
So he struggled, and then eventually he got better. He anchored down, but he decided to look for greener pastures.
He took his talents elsewhere.
To Carolina, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I'm pretty sure he's happy.
Well, yeah. He's doing good actually out there. I think because of our organization and the type of expectations that Broncos country has for these players are so much higher than some other teams. I think that a lot of these players do fold under this pressure, because we do demand a lot from these players just because of where this team has been and has achieved, 3 Super Bowl champs. There's still teams that haven't even made a Super Bowl. There's teams that still haven't won a Super Bowl as well. So I think it's because of our expectations, and the players feel it. Like, like they always kept on saying, number 63 eligible. The stadium erupts, and it is awesome. And what's even funny is, like, they were asking some of the players after the game, even after this game on Monday, like, did you hear the fans cheering for 63? And they're like, man, Broncos. And I think this was J.K. Dobbins that they were asking. And he was like, man, I did hear that, man. This is like pumps me up. And he talks about Broncos country has the best fans that he's ever played for. Like, nowhere else. Like, he goes, I've played over here, but Broncos country's fans are the best. And that's like, and it's true. We do, and we travel very well. And when you're in the stadium, you're going to know that we're here.
D-Rock has a question for you, Libre. He has a query. Is number 63, the center, still employed?
Well, 63 is on there, which is, I forget his name real offhand here. let's see. I have my list. I need to get a light in here. Give me one quick second.
Mm-hmm. Take your time, Lever. But I will say that this offense, the way it was clicking, was awesome. J.K. Dobbins finally reaching over 100 yards. Our first 100 yards player in years since Latavius Murray. Like, what did they say? Like 3 years ago?
38 games. So
Yeah,
since 2022.
Correct.
So number 63 is Alex Pavelski.
Mhm.
He's actually a tackle, not a center. And they put him in there for an extra blocker itself. So you know what I would like to see, if I hope that they're practicing this, because they've put him in there a lot as an eligible receiver, but they're only putting him in there so that they can have that extra blocker there on the line. But I want to see one time them just having him run out to the flat and just toss him the ball and let him catch it. But I want them to do it here in Mile High, because if they do it here in Mile High, let me tell you, the stadium will erupt. And I'm all for it. And I hope, hey, Sean Payton, I know you're listening to us as well. Let's make it happen. Come on, the Giants game is next year at home. Let's do it against the Giants.
Speaking of teams coming up, Libre, we have a really, really tough one on our hands as our boys in orange and blue travel to the land of the
brotherly love.
Of brotherly love, yes.
You know what? Like, you would think that this is going to be a hard game just because they're the defending Super Bowl champs. I do feel that they're very beatable. Yes, they might be 4-0 right now, but look at how they won these games. They were super close. And I actually just saw something today that the Eagles offense rank one of the lowest offenses in the league, like 28, 29, something like that. They're one of the worst offense in the league right now. And if you're going to go against this defense, trust me, they're not going to have a good day. It might be a good Bronco whooping as long as everyone can be on the offensive side where you're catching those balls, especially Troy Franklin. That ball can't go through your hands. You need to catch that ball, especially against these guys, because these guys are going to be taking that opportunity right now, especially they have a good defense. You need to take those advantages and take it and run with it, because if you're not going to do that, that's how they're going to beat us. But our offense this week has to hit on all cylinders in order for us to excel and actually beat these guys, because I feel that our defense is going to lock them down.
Well, I will say, Libre, that the last three opponents outside of the Cowboys really took the Eagles to their limit. This Vic Fangio defense looks nothing like it did in the Super Bowl months ago in terms of them dominating from start to finish. Yeah. So they got lucky that they beat the Rams. They definitely got lucky beating the Rams, I should say. They went toe-to-toe with Baker, Reagan, Mayfield. And if it wasn't for that awful interception he made in the end zone, they probably would have defeated him. But the Bucs came roaring back, man. They kept themselves in that game. So the Eagles are definitely the team to beat, and they definitely have vulnerabilities. They really do. Jalen Carter on the defensive line, as D-Rock mentioned, their D-line is furious. Yeah, Jalen Carter is not one to mess with, and as well as the rest of the other guys on that defensive line. Their secondary is really, really suspect. CeeDee Lamb cooked them in that Dallas game, won. And them not having their usuals are really, really where the Broncos need to attack. The run game was on fire this past Monday because it was Cincinnati, and I felt like Cincinnati halfway after that, probably like the third quarter, they just kind of gave up because they gave up 512 yards to the Broncos. Yeah. That's a lot. And the Eagles are definitely not going to make it that easy for the Broncos. But the thing that's really fantastic to see, Libre, is watching all those touchdowns that we mentioned from Monday night's game actually being done in Philadelphia. Yeah. And if the Broncos can execute, they just basically have to stay one step ahead of Vic Fangio, because Vic Fangio, while it's not the same Broncos team when he was here, there's a lot of similarities that are still ongoing. So the Broncos have to do their best to try to disguise those, so that way Vic can't counter it and see it coming type of mistakes. If the Broncos can take the lead and keep Jalen Hurts on the bench and not have to worry about Saquon or Devontae Smith or AJ Brown, all the more better. Or Dallas Goedert, because Dallas Goedert was just incredible this past weekend. I'll admit it. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to give Philadelphia an inch, because they will take a yard, so to speak. Their last 2 victories came as with them rallying back. So that's what you don't want to do. If you're going to take it to the champs, you got to take it to them. You got to take every opportunity that's given to you, and you have to put your foot on the pedal until the final whistle. So the Eagles are definitely beatable, Libre. And I agree with you. And there's a lot of people that say the same things that are not Eagles fans. Obviously, the Broncos going on the road, it's a lot tougher to win on the road at home. So I really do hope that any Broncos fans that are going to be at this game really show up and show their support for our boys.
You know, like I mentioned earlier, and what you say, that Broncos country travels very well. And when I first put my name on the list for Bronco tickets itself, every so often or throughout the year, the Broncos do send an email, and this was going back maybe 6-7 years. They did indicate that the Broncos had season ticket holders that lived in all 50 states, which is crazy to think that Hawaii, Alaska, that they have people that live there, that they have season tickets for the Broncos itself. And I don't know if it's still true today, but I can still figure that at least the 48 states, the lower 48, that each state has a season ticket holder in them. But the Broncos do travel well. The fans love to travel with the team. And I've seen it everywhere, in Green Bay, in Houston, in Seattle, in Dallas. Dallas was probably the biggest one ever that I've seen.
Oh, yeah. That was great.
Yeah, that was so awesome. Like, that stadium itself holds about 100,000 fans there. And about 30% of the fans were Bronco fans. And what was even better is that the players after the game were saying, like, Dallas Nation, like, how could you let Broncos country come in and take over? Because they heard us say incomplete. They heard us chanting, and so forth. And I think that also like threw them off maybe during that game itself. Another game that I went to that was like 50-50 was there in Arizona. Like, that was like straight up a Bronco home game. But overall, I do feel that Broncos country is going to show up in Philadelphia this weekend, and we're going to rep hard, and they're going to hear us, especially with this, with Bo Nix now in there. We have believers. So I know that we're going to represent well, that the Eagles fans are going to be like, why are so many Bronco fans here? And we already we've talked about this before, about how terrible that fan base is. But guess what? Broncos country is going to go in there, and they're going to rule it, and they're not going to be able to say anything to us after we go in there and give them their first L on the way out.
I will say, Libre, I would feel 100 times more confident if Dre Greenlaw was suiting up for this game. The only thing that I fear will really hurt the Broncos, if it's not Jalen Hurts, it's going to be Saquon. The linebackers did a pretty decent job keeping Chase Brown at bay.
Yeah.
But again, that Cincinnati O-line was Swiss cheese. So if Singleton and who was the other linebacker? Was it Sternad?
Sternad, yeah.
Yeah. So if they would have struggled against the Bengals, then we would be having a whole different type of conversation here.
So talking about like Greenlaw and the linebacker or whatever, we do have the eligibility to get Malcolm Roach back for this upcoming game. So he already waited the 4 weeks when he was placed on IR during preseason. So if he's good enough just to at least be on the front line to help put pressure and push that line back, That's going to be the best part of it is right now. If we can get him out there and actually, if we get a good, healthy Malcolm Roach, it's going to be hard for that offensive line, I feel, to actually make that movement for Saquon.
Yeah, because like you mentioned, Greenlaw will not be eligible to return until week 7. So this is the third week that Greenlaw will be out in terms of IR. I thought that the Broncos would probably make a move in terms of, trading, because there was I forget the name of the person, but shout out to them. They made a bunch of like picks in terms of teams that the Broncos could trade for in terms of linebacker help. One of them was the one from the Saints, Demario Davis, I think his name is. So he's an older veteran linebacker, but anything could help, just to kind of, even if it is just having them just on in terms of rotation, Libre. I just hope that the Broncos don't wait till the last minute, but like every team does before, just like the trade deadline. The closer we get to it, then that's when, we start seeing some action from teams in terms of moving players and stuff. I think the only one that we saw this past week was the Texans trading one of their offensive linemen to the Browns. I don't know why, but I guess they don't want to protect CJ Stroud anymore or all that much. So that was a bit of a head scratcher. But to be honest with you, them getting rid of their tackle before the start of the season, that was a bit of a head scratcher. But I do hope that the linebackers do not I was going to say suffer, but not suffer. Do not struggle in this game, because Saquon will definitely be a handful. And as much as I love seeing Tafanga coming in and hitting, I do worry about him leaving his spot and, leaving his zone or area open and susceptible to, to the pass attack.
So I only feel like that might happen if they're going to have doing the play action itself. But you already have, I think they're real predictable right now on offense. And that's why they're one of the lowest offensive production right now in the league, is because, yes, they are predictable and whatnot. But I feel like even with Tufanga, he's a smart enough guy. Like, he's going to understand, is it a true run play? Is it going to be there? Because they're going to have their own keys. They're going to be doing their own scouting. They're going to be checking on that all, and understand what they see in front of them. And Tufanga is a student of the game. So I feel like because of he's already the leading tackler of the team, he's still going to lead the team in tackles. But they just need to start like anybody else on the team itself. You can't tackle Saquon high. You need to go low. You need to take him out because his legs are too strong to stop him if you're going to try to tackle him up high. You can't do that. You have to go low on him. And I think that's going to be an emphasis of practice all week long. It's like, all right, guys, let's get low. Let's get low. But we already know these guys are professionals. They understand what it is. And I don't feel like Tufanga's not going to have what you're saying about leaving his post or whatever. He's already going to have an indication of what he's going to be doing, and that's why he's the leading tackler of the team itself.
I wholeheartedly agree. We didn't get to see or hear his name all that much on Monday, Libre, at least on TV. So I got worried there for a second. I'm like, hey, who is Hufanga even playing in this game? But that's how bad the Bengals were, where he didn't even really need to do a lot. I think I saw
our front line was doing good. That's why.
Yeah, I think I only saw him on TV like once. So, but I really do hope. But you're right about. Let me just backtrack a little bit. You're right about the Broncos country traveling great, because when I was in Indy, I'm telling you, I was not expecting that many Broncos fans. Like, I was expecting to see them, kind of scattered around like a little bit. But the fact that there were just as much, because since we got there early, the little tailgate area that the Colts do for every home game, it wasn't open yet. So it was like probably like another 30 minutes or so before they actually opened. And the people in line, there were more orange jerseys in line waiting to go into this tailgate thing than there were Colts fans. So That was really interesting to see. I do have one question for you, Libre, and I know we're not in the overtime segment of the show yet, but it's just something that I've been wondering. And since you go to more games than I do, have you ever wondered why there are so many people walking around the stadium while the game's going on?
It could be for a factor of a couple things. Is that they're needing to go and rush to the bathroom. They're wanting to get a drink. But I think a lot of the people that do come to the stadium, there's a lot of people that this is their first time going to a game and they want to check out the stadium. They want to check that out. And that's what they're really there for. There's like, this is an experience. Secondary is just the game. They're there for that stadium itself. You see it here in Denver all the time. But you know, when you get to a certain spot, you know who's there for the game or who's there for the stadium. I still want to go to the Steve Atwater grill that they announced before the season started. And I'm 2 games in, I still haven't gone. That's because we're tailgating and we break down about an hour before game time. We're packing up and then we're heading straight in and then we're going straight to our seats. I know there's a time where I just need to go in right away to try to check it out, that new grill, but I'm not really there for that itself. I'm just there to enjoy the game, do that. And that's really what I think what is happening is people just go there for the experience and want to check out maybe different vantage points, or what's happening around the stadium, because especially there's still a lot of stuff to do in the concourse while you're walking around the concourse or doing something like that. But other than that, that's the only thing I can think of, because when I'm at the game, I'm there for the game. Let's go, let's play, let's cheer, let's get loud when the Broncos are in D and whatnot. That's why I'm there.
Yeah, I just had like a random thought when I was sitting in my seat and I looked over, and where I was sitting, I could clearly see there were people just hanging out like right out, like as if they were at a bar, and they weren't even paying attention to the game. They weren't looking at the screens. They were just having like random conversations. And I just had like this random thought. I'm like, wow, these people actually paid money to just come and stand instead of watching the game itself. They're just standing there having a conversation. It's kind of like when you go to like the movies or another event and people, instead of watching the movie or whatever, they're just having like a random conversation, and it's really annoying. So
that's when you go and tell them, shh, we're trying to watch a movie. Shh. Instead of at the stadium, you're like, come on, get up and cheer. Let's go, come on.
Yeah, that's how I was at the Indy game. The people that were sitting behind me, I just kept like high-fiving random people.
But you know what? Like, let me tell you, like, this is the best thing that's ever, like, of any chance. Because you know how the chants of the Bengals, they go, who they think beat them Bengals? Who they? So throughout all the tailgating, throughout the stadium, because there was a couple that sat right behind me as well. And I was like, who they think beat them Broncos? Who they? And then when I said that, they started busting out laughing, like they love the enjoyment and so forth of just changing that word. It's like they like right away. It's like, oh wait, you said Broncos? No, I'm not high fiving you, But it was like that's the best part about it. You that good little banter or whatnot. And that couple that was behind me were from Cincinnati, and they have season tickets there for the Bengals, and they're talking about, you know what? Thank you guys so much for the hospitality. You guys made it actually a fun time, even though we got our butts beat really bad here today.
I mean, it's great. See, that's the great thing about football is, being able to, talk smack to each other. You and I have talked about this
with respect. Yep.
With respect. When I went to the Raiders game last year in Vegas, the fact that they were just separating us like sheep, and we were walking. We're all Raiders on one side, all Broncos on the other one, and we were just yelling insults to each other, And then after the game, of course, the loser has to deal with having to hear Raiders yelled out like a million times. And that walk of shame.
And and the worst part about that as well is that freaking chant. I just hate that. It's not even a chant. It's just saying the word. It's just the word Raiders. And then, you know what? Like I think I've said this before in our chat before, in our show. Whenever they say that, you always have to finish it with sucks.
Sucks.
You know,
Yeah.
you have to, like, especially when we play them here on that Thursday night. We're gonna hear it all day long, but you have to be loud and proud, and you have to say sucks every time, because not only so there's some of the fans don't like when they hear that, and because they just want to be annoying or whatnot, but you have to do it. You have to be annoying back to them, and that's the good banter that we have, and that's why we love rivalry sports itself.
You ain't say none but a word, man. But
Raiders
if
suck.
the Broncos can pull out this win, Libre, I think that it'll definitely put the Broncos back on the map, because these last two losses, they fell off. You guys have heard me, the review I read last week basically said that, the Broncos did lose. It's, by a field goal, but at the same time, it's like, it's kind of hard to trust a team that can't win by the same way that they lost, type of feeling. So hopefully it doesn't come to that this coming week, Libre. I really don't think so. Not that I don't have a lot of trust in the leg of Will Lutz. Well, after that Colts game, I kind of really don't, to be honest with you, Libre. I still think that he's only here because of his connection to Sean Payton. But, shout out to the Broncos players for rallying behind him, and just kind of coming to his defense. But that's what you do in a team, Libre. When one person, has a bad moment like that and it causes them to lose, then, it's up to the team to come back and rally, say, hey, man, listen, stuff happens. That's just the way it is. But, we learn from our mistakes. We work on correcting them, to fixing them, and we live to fight another day, type of thing, which is great. It's totally fine, but I'm really hoping that it doesn't come down to that. Again, this Vic Fangio defense is so sus. Like, they're not as dominant in their secondary, mind you. The linebackers are pretty decent, but the secondary is where the Eagles' weakness lies.
So my thing is for you. Sorry.
Yeah.
So my thing for you though as well is like, yeah, they're not the same defense as they were last year. Like, did they bring everyone back? Like, cause I don't
No.
follow them that well. So
CJ Gardner-Johnson isn't there anymore.
Yeah. So
And
part of that as well is you win a Super Bowl, you're a hot commodity, and teams want you, and that's why, like, when you look at Super Bowl teams, that's why it's so hard in the NFL itself to repeat, is because teams are wanting you to now come. If you won that Super Bowl and you're a player on that team, teams want you to come and help them to try to get that leadership as well on their side so that they can get to the Super Bowl. That's why I love the NFL so much, is that it is hard to repeat. And it's because of that. And you're seeing it now. Is like, yes, the Eagles were dominant last year with Vic Fangio and whatnot, but now he doesn't have the same personnel that he had last year. That's why they're struggling a little bit. And because we're now facing them week 5 of the season, we need to take advantage of that. And if we can take that advantage and run with it, and we can say shock the world and give them their first L this week, that is, like how you said earlier, that's only going to elevate us and put us on the map and saying, oh, dang, this Bronco team is for real.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And it's not going to be easy. When me and you did the schedule release video, we kind of just had the same idea, Libre. Like, we weren't as positive as we are now as we were then. We kind of just wrote it off like, yeah, man, this is an automatic L, defending Super Bowl champs. The tush push, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, all this stuff. And rightfully so, because none of us can predict the future, so we didn't know what we were to expect. But you fast forward all the way to where we are now, and you see how the Eagles are operating. They're almost, I want to say, Libre, running on a consistency of what Kansas City was running with last year, because that's the vibe that I'm getting, that the Chiefs last year were getting lucky and getting their wins. And that's how I feel the Eagles are getting by now. They're skating by their last 2 games.
Yeah.
They're nothing like their first game where they absolutely, demolished the Cowboys per se. But even then, the Cowboys gave them a good run for their money at first because their secondary was really struggling. So the overconfidence from the Eagles, I think, could be their greatest demise. So, again, Broncos have all the momentum. They're the underdogs going into this. Nobody outside of Broncos country expects our boys to win, Libre, especially on the road against the undefeated champions. They're one of 2 teams, Libre, that are left that haven't lost yet. It's the Eagles and the Bills. And to be honest with you, I think that the Bills have a much better chance of continue to be undefeated after this week than the Eagles do.
No, I agree with you 100%. But just real quick, I was just talking with some of my people here on TikTok. One of the guys, when we were talking about the Raiders and the chant, the guy Chiefs from Cali, he goes, Chiefs Cali, he was like, what about the KC Chiefs and the chant and the chop? I go, you know what? Like, part of that is what I love about it is that each team has their own little thing. So with the Chiefs, it's like, oh, know, I hate it. It's annoying to me. But again, that's only because I'm a Bronco fan. It's the same thing with Baltimore Ravens. I was saying that as well with the Baltimore Ravens, is that they have that chant that's saying, oh. They have that chant going on too. And I feel, what's that?
The Colts had one that was like, and it's just people going like this. And me and my nephew were looking at each other like, what the hell is going on? So it's like,
but then
that's what they do at their games. Those are the rituals.
Exactly. And then that's what I was just saying to them here on TikTok as well. It's like, you guys have those those little chants, and we have the incomplete. I go, you guys might think that might be something that's annoying as well. But you know what? I feel like that alone, like the chants that they do it against for the fans. But I think when we do the incomplete, that goes directly to the quarterback and to the receiver. And they're like, man, that's affecting us. They're telling us that, hey, that was incomplete. And we're making you know that you messed up and you didn't catch that ball or whatever. So I feel like with us, it's more a little psychological itself compared to like their little chants or whatever that's happening at the beginning of the game or, close to the end of a game itself. But I feel like this part, like when I was just telling them, I said, you know what? I go, every team has their thing that they do, and that's what makes your team special and what you guys like itself. Every team has it. It might annoy other opposing fans itself, but guess what? That's what you do, and that's what makes it fun because that's what you do. We do ours, and we have that good, nice little banter, and we go after it. I don't know what they really do in Philly besides try to argue and fight everyone because, they are the city of brotherly love. It's not brotherly love. If they're talking about you, if you're truly loving your brother, I know when I was growing up with my brother, I just always wanted to kick his butt all the time, like just give him the hurt or whatever. But trust me, I'd be the first one there to defend him if anyone else tried doing that to him. And so I get that in a sense as well. But again, what do they do? Who knows? But trust that the Broncos will go out there and hopefully that Broncos country, and we can hear it on the TV this weekend saying incomplete.
Yes, sir. And I will just finish that statement by saying one of the coolest things, if you've never been to Mile High, is hearing the incomplete chant. And then when the announcer goes, it's third down. And you can feel from the shortest or tallest blade of grass all the way up to Lucifer himself on the Titantron, the entire stadium shaking because everybody is stomping at the ground is one of the most amazing feelings at Mile High I ever experienced. I love it. I live for it, Libre, and I'm jealous that you get to do it almost every other freaking weekend.
So talking about that right there, let me tell you about talking about that. So the old Mile High Stadium, it was made of just steel. So because it was made of steel, the way that the stands were made, and when you're stomping, that's all you're hearing, and it's like the ground is like shaking, like the whole stands is like shaking itself, which is crazy. So when they built this new stadium, they built that with a design with a little bit of movement of the actual when you're in there, and so when you're stomping, that they try to replicate that. It's not the same. The old Mile High was so awesome with it because once you did get that, like you literally felt the whole stadium shake. Here you don't feel it shake, but they try to replicate it a little bit. But the feet, like the where you're standing at, it does have a little bit of movement, but not as much as Mile High. So coming into the new stadium, I don't know what they're gonna do at that point. Like there's still lots of questions of what's going to happen, what they're going to be doing with that and whatnot. I hope that they get a lot of feedback from Broncos country as well, and I pray that they don't put PSLs on us because it's just going to price out a lot of Bronco true faithful out there. So if the owners, the Walton Group, Penner Walton Group, please don't do it. I know that you do the PSLs. I know other teams do it. 21 of the 32 teams currently have PSLs, but that only helps when the Broncos said privately funded. I hope it's not being privately funded by me putting in for a PSL.
Mm-hmm. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the hour time of regulation, which means that it's time for Libre and us to go into some overtime. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If this is your first time joining us, this is the part where Libre and I let down our figuratively hair down and just kind of talk about whatever's on our minds. Mostly during the off season, that's kind of where we ran rave. But during the regular season, Libre and I like to give out our picks for the upcoming matchups. So, Libre, so far, the chat and I have caught up. We are tied at 41 points, and you are in the rear with 38. So you're not far behind.
I'm not far behind. I know, what's funny is I was actually talking to my cousin earlier this weekend, Juan Marquez, and we were talking about. He goes, "Yeah, I have like an 8-game lead on you," and blah blah blah. I'm like, I'm not that far behind, bro. Come on. And he goes, "No, yeah, I have like an 8-game lead." I'm like, all right, okay.
Yeah, so we do have 4 teams on bye because the bye weeks have officially started. So we have the Falcons, the Bears, the Packers, and the Steelers are all off this week. So we have 14 games to choose from. Well, 13 because the Broncos, we all go Broncos. So Thursday night game tomorrow, Libre, we have the 3-1 San Francisco 49ers going up against the Los Angeles Rams. Another divisional matchup. The interesting thing about this is that earlier today, Brock Purdy was ruled out. So it's not going to be Purdy starting. And I just think that alone just upgraded the chances for the Rams to win this game. So I think the 49ers and the Ravens are hand in hand in terms of being the most injured riddled teams so far this year.
So with that being said, and I already picked the Rams to win this game prior to Purdy being called out, but that just solidifies my pick more because he's out. And it's in LA as well. So, and because of that, I don't think the 49ers has what it takes to take over this Rams team. This Rams team is sneaky good itself. So, and I feel like they're going to be a team to watch out for this year because they're going to be surprising a lot of teams this upcoming year.
Yeah, the way they came back against Indianapolis almost made me feel bad because that go-ahead touchdown by Tutu Atwell was a thing of beauty, man. And I could almost picture myself, seeing Bo Nix throw a dart like that to Troy Franklin, and Franklin just turning on the Jets and going straight to the end zone. So just waiting for the chat. Chat, what do you guys think? Because I don't think Juan's here tonight.
No,
So
I don't think he is either.
Shy or D-Rock, I just need you guys to pick who do you think is going to win the Monday night game. If not, then I will just guess for you, and you're going to have to settle for that.
Well, what I can do, Adon, is I can ask Juan to give us the official list as well if we want to do that, since
Yeah,
he's
we can
been
do that
active
too.
the first 4 weeks as well. I'll send
If I
him a
don't get an
message here
answer
after the show. Yeah,
from chat, yeah.
to give us a list.
So yeah, we'll continue going forward, but either Shy or D-Rock, since you guys are here, I will accept your answers and you will represent the chat, 'cause technically you are chat. So
That's right.
so moving on to the Sunday night games, we have the Minnesota Vikings at 2-2, going up against the Cleveland Browns at 1-3.
So that's not a Sunday night game.
Or
That's a game.
a
a game
Sunday
in-
morning game. Yeah,
Yeah, the
because
Sunday
they're playing
morning.
in London. Thank you.
Yeah.
Early another Sunday. The fact that the Vikings have to play in Europe in a second week in a row, I think, is a disadvantage to them. Especially the way that they lost to the Steelers in Dublin last Sunday. So it's gonna be. I was actually thinking about this one, Libre, and it's kind of tough to pick one because I feel like both of these teams, without McCarthy, if Wentz starts again, which I think he is, I think McCarthy would have given them a much better chance at winning because I thought Wentz was going to play a whole lot better against the Steelers last week, and he didn't. He struggled a lot. That last minute heroic stuff, that's just because the Steelers kind of let them come back. But obviously, the Browns have a much tougher defense. So, but it's that defense that, they go out there and pour their hearts out, and the offense just cannot reciprocate. Now, the Browns are sitting Joe Flacco.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know how to feel about this novice quarterback. So you have two really good defenses. But I think that the Vikings are going to take this one.
I agree with you 100%. It's Dylan Gabriel's first start in the league. They picked him over Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is now still the third quarterback option for them as well. So I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's happening in their locker room that is not coming out because of Shedeur. But I feel like the Vikings are going to take this game and they're going to win. I feel like they'll win pretty easily on this game. Yes, it is in London, but they're not going to be able to. The Browns are not going to be able to do anything. They're just changing quarterbacks. We'll see what happens. Vikings all the way.
Next up, we got the Texans at 1-3 going up against the Baltimore Ravens at 1-3. Now, it's already been stated that Lamar Jackson will be out 2 to 3 weeks at the most with a hamstring injury, and it will be Cooper Rush taking over. So, again, this is another game where I couldn't really pick a winner because CJ Stroud is just when you see what he did his rookie year versus now, it's like, man. But then again, the Ravens, they're so injury riddled, but it's like you can't really rule out, King Henry, and Cooper Rush might surprise, especially the Ravens at home. They play a whole lot better. So I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt here, and I'm going to say that the Ravens win this one.
I agree as well, but I feel like this game is going to be a lot closer than what a lot of people think.
Yeah, it's not going to be high scoring.
Because of it. It's going to be a high scoring. I have Nico Collins in one of my fantasy leagues, so he's going to hopefully have 3 to 4 touchdowns, which I'm hoping for, but he'll probably get one. But lots of yards and receptions. That's all I care about. But I do feel like how you're saying, I think Cooper Rush coming in, and he's been a good backup. He's going to be out there. He's going to play well, and it's at home. And I feel like because it is at home for him, it's going to be a little bit more comfortable, and I think the Ravens will win.
Agreed. Next, we have the Miami Dolphins at 1-3 going up against the Panthers at Carolina at 1-3. Both of these teams are 1-3. The Dolphins, basically, they were in the same situation as the Giants. They won their first game, but it came at a huge cost. They lost Tyreek Hill. Seems like not just for the season, but probably for good, as gruesome as that was. And I hate looking at those types of images. So the Dolphins are really going to need help from their wide receivers. And, Darren Waller couldn't have come back at a better time. And the way the Panthers got shellacked last week by the Patriots, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if we have another Bryce Young gets benched and Andy Dalton is the starter going forward. But this probably could be the last straw for Bryce Young in terms of that going forward. So I'm going to say that the Dolphins won this one.
Yes, that play, because I was at the game because it happened on Monday night as well, and we were in the stands and everyone was getting notifications and everyone around me, and I was seeing the play too because I got the notification and was looking at it, and I thought it was more of a broken leg than anything, and it was already talked about being more gruesome than Joe Theismann, Alex Smith, being that type of a serious injury. Yes, it was still gruesome the way that his leg looked and all that, but honestly, it probably was better on what happened to him because he actually dislocated his knee and tore all his ligaments. So I feel like, and he's already had his surgery. He already had the ACL, MCL surgery or whatnot. But I feel like they're already talking about his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, has already said successful surgery. Everything was good to go. We're looking at next year, beginning of training camp and doing all that ready for him to go, ready to go. I don't think it's a career ender for him, even though, yes, he's the cheetah. That's what his main thing is. But I do feel for this game, Miami is going to take over because that Panther team is not good at all. And Miami does have better weapons and they do have a good defense, and I do feel like Miami will win this game, but we'll see what happens with the cheetah. I actually don't think it's a career ender for him. If he would have broke it like how Alex Smith and Joe Theismann did, which initially that's what we thought, I do agree that it could have been a career ender for him.
Correct. Next, we got the Raiders at 1-3 going on the road against the Indianapolis Colts. So
Colts.
This is the Colts' first game back since their robbed win against Denver back home after going out on the road for a bit. And I think the most surprising thing is the fact that Xavier Howard just literally retired in the middle of the season. Not even the middle of the season, like the kind of like the close to the quarter of the season, I guess you'd say. And that puts the Colts in a very bad spot in terms of their secondary because they're really hurt in the cornerback position. So I feel that the Colts are probably going to have to start making some phone calls and some trades have to be made in terms of reinforcement if they're going to want to stay contenders, because Daniel Jones just had a bad day at the office against the Rams. He threw some really ugly interceptions. Adonai Mitchell did not do that team any favors with the drop fumble. You would have thought that they would have learned from Jonathan Taylor the year before, and then that terrible holding call that Clark called back from a potential Jonathan Taylor touchdown. And the Raiders, the way they looked against the Bears, I'm glad that they lost. But I think everybody's starting to see that I was right about Geno Smith, because I think he leads the league in interceptions, if I'm not mistaken, with 7, I think. And he's probably going the Jameis Winston route, as somebody said earlier, where he's going to have more picks and interceptions when it's all said and done. So, yeah, it's going to be Colts for me.
Yeah, even with the retirement, calling it quits this early in the season, I don't fear Geno Smith. I feel that they're going to be fine. You do have to watch out for Genty, the way that he looked against the Bears. But again, as long as if you can control him, you're going to put this team at one-dimensional. You saw what it did to us late in the season where we were one-dimensional. You can just read off of that, go and do your plays that way, and you're going to be able to stop them without question. This Colts team is pretty good. And Jonathan Taylor will have 3 touchdowns. I don't know why. I feel it only for my fantasy team, though.
Next, we got the Giants at 1-3 going to see the Saints, who have yet to win a football game. I got to tell you, the inspiration that Jackson Dart has brought to the Giants has been anything short of amazing. So it's going to be the Jackson Dart show going forward. I don't see it any different. And if the Giants can upset a team like the Chargers, something that the Broncos couldn't do so far, then the Saints they kept it close against Buffalo. They were supposed to get blown out right away. It wasn't supposed to be that close. So I got to give them credit where credit is due. But I think that the momentum that the Giants are building, I don't think it's I don't think the Saints can overwhelm it. It might be close, but I think that the dart show is going to keep going, and it's going to I think the Giants are going to win this game.
No, I agree with you as well. The Giants will win this game. The Saints is another bad team that are not that good. Rattler, like he's just out there just because he was just thrown in there because of Carr retiring at the beginning of the season before training camp happened. But like they're just not a good team, just like with Carolina. It's just going to be another who's going to be fighting for the first pick overall.
Agreed. Then next we have the Dallas Cowboys at 1-2-1, going on the road to MetLife against the New York Jets, who have also yet to win a game. Let me just say for the record, folks, that I would have much rather the Packers try to go for the win and lose than them settle for 3 and tie, because that to me makes it a whole lot worse. That's just my personal opinion. Then I have heard from people that games shouldn't end in a tie, that they should keep going until somebody scores, and I have to keep reminding them that only happens in the playoffs. So, but the Jets kept it close against Miami 2 days ago, I will say, but unfortunately they made some mistakes, and the Jets couldn't rally back quick enough. And the Cowboys have a bad defense, really bad, probably the worst in the league, I would probably say, or up there with the worst, if not that. But they put up points. They're one of the best offenses in the league, if I'm not mistaken, from a stat that I read. And the New York Jets just can't get out of their way in terms of not making mistakes and playing a clean game, even at home. So I'm going to have to say that I think the Cowboys win this game, Libre.
I'm going to go with we dem boys. The Jets are another team that are like not that good, and we're going to be playing them here in several weeks in London. And I feel like this is another game that is one of the because then we play the Giants right afterwards, after that game, where this is another game. Yes, we're across the pond where we need to actually have a statement game. That we have to go out there and dominate. And I feel like the Broncos will be able to do that and bring that confidence back when we do play the Giants, because they're going to need this confidence with this Giants team. Yes, I don't feel like the Giants is that good either, but the way that they're playing and how you're talking about was putting in Jackson Dart, I would love to see Russell Wilson back here try to beat us, because it would have been fun. But we already knew that he wasn't going to last that long.
Agreed. Next, we have the Tennessee Titans at 0-4, going on the road to play the Cardinals at 2-2. I'm not even going to break this one down, Libre. Arizona all the way.
Go Birds. No, I'm the same way.
Just for the simple fact, to quote Cam Ward, we're playing like ass.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. Like Cam Ward, like how all these Titans fans and so forth, especially on TikTok, they're talking about, oh, Cam Ward's the next greatest quarterback ever, or whatever. But you see that, yes, you might be the number one. He might be the number one overall. But the thing is, you need a team, you need a line to help protect him, and you guys don't have that.
Yeah, the amount of mud that those TikTokers have to wipe off their face is punishment enough.
Right.
So next we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 3-1, going on the road against the Seattle Seahawks at 3-1. This could be a tough game because that Seahawks defense is pretty good. They're pretty legit, I'm not gonna lie. But Tampa Bay taking the Philadelphia Eagles to their limit and just barely losing out. It's really hard to count out Baker, Reagan, Mayfield right now, even without Mike Evans, which is his best weapon. But the Bucky Irving injury does kind of worry me, because Bucky Irving is that, what keeps him churning. So if he cannot play or if he's limited, that'll really hurt them chances. But again, I feel that Tampa Bay is going to pull this one out. There's just something about Sam Darnold that I just don't fully have confidence in, but I'm going to say Bucs win this game.
So, hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound like a robot, though.
Hold on. Give me a quick second.
Yeah. So technical difficulties. Unfortunately, Libre will be back. Salvador Escobedo. Salutations, my friend. Thank you so much for being here with us. Better late than never, I always say. But we are just going over our picks for this coming week. While Libre reboots and comes back in, just want to say that it is going to be a tight game. Are you good?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're good.
Okay. My pinche primo, don't call me on FaceTime, so I get kicked out. But talking about Bucky Irving right now, I just saw a report here today. I don't know if it was from Adam Schefter or not, but they're saying that his injury is not as bad as they thought it was going to be with his ankle injury, and that he's going to be out there. He's not going to be, he was limited, I think, in today's practice or whatnot. But I do feel like it's going to be where he's going to be a key factor in this game. And like I was telling, and you know what's funny is that somebody on TikTok did ask me about the same thing about this game this weekend, and I said, you know what, this probably is the game of the weekend itself because they are both 3-1 or whatnot. But I was saying that Baker Mayfield is in contention right now of going for MVP right now, just the way that he's played so far with these first 4 games. And for me, I have actually Baker Mayfield on my fantasy team as well. And I feel like he's going to be out there. He's going to go out strong. And I think he's going to pick apart these guys. Even with Mike Evans being out right now, because I think there's also a report with Mike Evans being out for another couple more weeks. But Mbika Mbuka, the rookie, he has stepped up and so forth. And I feel like he's going to have a great game this weekend in Seattle. And I'm going to go with the Buccaneers because I do feel that they're going to have a great game.
Agreed. Next, we have the Detroit Lions at 3-1 going to the jungle, playing the Bengals at home at 2-2. Again, I'll keep it short and sweet. The Bengals home, away. The Lions are a buzzsaw, and that's exactly what's heading their way. Unless they do something drastic, like make a move at a quarterback. If Jake Browning goes out there, it's going to be another bad day at the office. I'm going to say Lions.
Lions as well.
Next, we have the Washington Commanders at the Los Angeles Chargers. Commanders 2-2, Chargers at 3-1. The injury to Joe Alt is really worrisome in terms of susceptibility for that offensive line, because that offensive line was already struggling to protect Justin Herbert, especially against the Broncos. So with him not out there, the only thing that's not making me 100% on the Washington pick is the fact that Jaden Daniels has not been said that he's going to start for sure, and neither is Scary Terry. But if those two guys start, then that's a definite win for the Washington Commanders. But either way, I'm going to pick the Commanders to win this because I hate the Chargers right
now. If Alt is out, and if Von Miller, how hungry he is and how many times he's played against the Chargers, depending on, like how you said, it's really going to be dependent on how Joe Alt is, if he's going to be able to play, if not. Because I haven't looked into much as to his injury to see what status he is currently. But because they are playing in LA and they have been playing strong, I'm going to go with the Chargers.
Ooh.
I don't like the pick, but I need to catch up somehow.
I'm going to need you to turn in your Broncos gear, my friend.
Hey, are you ready? Bronco Libre is ready. Let's get it on.
One of the very few times I hope you're wrong.
Same.
Next, we have Sunday Night Football. The New England Patriots at 2-2 going on the road against the Buffalo Bills, who are undefeated at 4-0. I will say, since Tom Brady left and Josh Allen took over, they own the Patriots. And I will give credit where credit is due. The Patriots look good against Carolina, but that's what you do against bad teams. You look good. So I don't think that the Patriots are there yet to go toe-to-toe with Buffalo. Buffalo's defense is a little sus, I will admit, because they kept New Orleans in the game, and it should not have been the way it been. But Josh Allen is Josh Allen. James Cook is James Cook. And
Yep.
Joey Bosa has really surprised me, I will say. I didn't think he was going to be much of a factor, but his name has gotten mentioned more as a Buffalo Bill than as a Charger. That wasn't an injury designation. So I'm going to say Buffalo wins this game, Libre.
Okay. Yeah, same. You can't. Buffalo's good right now. That's all I'm gonna say.
And then the Monday night game, Libre, your Kansas City Chiefs at 2-2, going on the road, playing in the, well, I was going to say sun, but no, it's not sun because it's at night, in the warm weather of Jacksonville.
The humid
at
weather
3-1.
of Jacksonville.
Yeah, they were getting burned up over there this past weekend. I don't know what it is about Jacksonville, but they're pretty frisky, Libre, and they played the 49ers really, really well. They forced them to commit a lot of errors even before Purdy and Pearsall and Juwan Jennings went out with injuries. And that was a game that the 49ers should have won, but they didn't. And I can see Jacksonville upsetting Kansas City. Now, Kansas City had a walk in the park with Baltimore because Baltimore was just self-imploding in front of their eyes. And, you know, they took advantage of it. And Patrick Mahomes looked like the Mahomes of old, as much as I hate to say it. But Jacksonville could be that team that just surprises them. And if the Chiefs aren't careful and they get cocky enough, they can lose this game. So I'm going to say that Jacksonville wins because I hate the Chiefs too.
That's one thing is you don't know what you're going to be getting out of sunshine. And with Travis Hunter, and yes, Casey did take advantage of Baltimore, which none of us saw. Because I picked Baltimore to win that game easily, but because of the injuries and they just took advantage of it, I'm still up in the air on this game, man. Like going back and forth. But I'm going to go with you as well. I feel like Jacksonville, they're at home. They're going to want to show out for their fans. And is that game that the KC did play against Baltimore, was it really even real, because of all the stuff that happened? So I do feel like how you said, Jacksonville is just that little, you don't understand who they are. We don't know who their true identity is, but we're going to find out on Monday night with the whole country watching them. So I'm going to go with Jacksonville. Travis Hunter, Colorado kid from Colorado.
Of course. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the overtime segment of today's show. Libre and I would like to say thanks to all the people that were here with us in the chat. Shai Vargas, Salvador Escobedo, who wants to remind you, Libre, that in 3 weeks he's going to be in Denver. So
that's my boy Sal. What's happening,
Sal,
bro?
make sure you get your tickets. Autographs are $15 or $30 if you get the package with Libre. And pretty soon we're working on Libre doing Cameo. So, you pay him.
You know what? That's funny is that you say that, as I've been thinking about doing Cameo.
Hey, if you can get approved, go for it, man. Because
I think I'll look into it a little bit more. But yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know how that whole thing works. I don't know if you have to actually be like a celebrity or if it's anybody that can sign up.
I think anybody can sign up, because the only reason why I know this is that there's a Packers super fan. He goes by Hulkamaniac or something like that, or Packer Mania, and he's done cameos and so forth. And I think all the money that he's actually earned from Cameo, he has donated all of that to his charitable thing as well. So that's something that I will be thinking about doing myself. But for me, for my nonprofit that I do it for, is it's called Dash for Smiles. So kids that are born with cleft lip and palate itself. So if you're out there, go to dashforsmiles.org, donate today. We just finished our 15th year of actually part of the organization. So go out there and donate.
Definitely go out there and donate, guys. And thanks to everybody that was in the chat. Through Libre's TikToks and who's ever left in mine, because it says there's one person in here, but I don't know who it is.
That's me.
There have been people coming in and out. So, but before we get out of here, guys, like we always do before we head out, we always want to remind you guys to please show your support for Libre and us and all the people here at the Orange and Blue Network who do all this work to bring you hundreds and hundreds of hours of Broncos content throughout the year. subscribe, share, comment, and like on this and all the videos you see here. If there's something that you heard us say that you don't agree or you do agree with and you want to argue with Libre and us about it and you weren't able to join us live after the fact, no worries. Feel free to leave a comment and we will get back to you with our response. For any business inquiries, you can email at broncostalk2020@gmail.com. Libre and I would also like to give a shout out to Dubby for being a continued sponsor of the show. If you use the code OBN10, you'll get 10% off your order at checkout. Shout out to Dubby and the guys over at Nothing Rhyme With for hooking you, me, and Libre up with this amazing offer and for being a continued supporter of this and all the shows here on the network. For our audio listeners, if you'd like to send us a screenshot after you review us, 5-star reviews are always well appreciated. You can send it to our socials there on the bottom. Our Twitter handles are at 6'10 Mexican. Bronco Libre is at Bronco Libre 5280, and we will definitely give you a shout out live here on the show as well. We will be back next Wednesday. I will be back. Bronco Libre is taking the day off because he's got to go sign. You ever seen John Cena when he signs autographs? You have to sign like 1,000 of them, and he just constantly, you just see him go like this for like an hour. So
you can't see me.
He has to get fitted for a cutout, and he's probably going to be in the next Madden game. He's going to be a busy next Wednesday.
If you haven't seen my social media already, go on my Instagram page, and I have a Superfan Edition Madden cover. Check it out, like it, share it, and like my page.
Yeah. And I know we haven't mentioned Johnny Baki at all this entire stream. And he's probably...
Wait, what?
Yeah, we haven't said anything.
Who is that guy?
I don't know. I will say that I'm super jealous that he's been to more Broncos games than me so far this year. So
same. He's been to more Broncos games than I have this year, and I have season tickets.
Yeah. Well, I will say that if the Broncos would have lost on Monday, I would have been right there with you where we would have had to put like "Do not let this man in the building" signs at every Broncos game.
Right. Well, his record is 2-2.
Yeah. Although he'll probably argue and he'll probably message us when he sees us like, you know what, both of you guys,
you're fired.
You're fired.
Good job, because I'm not showing up next week.
Yeah. So Libre will not be here. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we will have Viva Los Broncos this Friday at our regular scheduled time. But we will not have Viva Los Broncos next Friday because I do not have that much Spanish in me to do a show by myself. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch 2 weeks ago when Libre left. Like, I was literally on E in terms of what I can say in Spanish.
And he goes, deuces, guys, I'm out.
Yeah. Plus, Libre is the star of the show because his face is on the cover. So no star, no show. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you back here next Wednesday, hopefully with a W. Please make sure you follow Bronco Libre to get all of his updates while he is gone next week so you don't miss anything, because we will not see Libre until the following week after Friday. So please do not cry because he hates that.
No te llores.
So with that being said, he's Bronco Libre. I'm Alan Diaz. This has been Broncos Talk on the Orange and Blue Network, and we will see you all next time. And as always, go Broncos!
Go Broncos!
Woo!
Broncos
Let's go!
Talk.